folks, welcome you all to yet another cheap little vlog of mine on the iPhone 14 machine, people. Yes, here we are in the cheap seats once again, people. I have actually managed to find a sunny day here in the UK. It's been there's been the odd sunny day here and there, but it's been quite cool. It's been around 17 to sort of 19 degrees here in the northwest. And it's been a lot of rain though. So this is the first sort of sunny evening I've seen in a while that's been toward the weekend. And this is a flaggins up Thursday, people, because I looked at the weather for tomorrow and I thought, well, it's not going to be sunny tomorrow. And it's always nice to have a flaggins up on a sunny day, people. Flaggins up to you all. So that's why I decided to do it today. And I am now off, people, on holiday from today. So I'm off tomorrow and I've got all next week off. I was meant to be off this week. I think I said to you in the last vlog that I did, I was supposed to be off this week and I was going to record some Diablo and do some gaming. But that didn't happen because things happened at work that I needed to attend. So I shifted it a week and I'm off this week instead. So I am hoping that I will get some more Diablo recorded. I know it was popular. I think I said in the last vlogs that I was struggling a little bit with sort of it hooking me in quite as much as it was. But there is another reason that I've not been playing, and we'll get into that. I've picked up some news stories from the last couple of weeks, which we're going to talk about. There's only about 4 or 5. And I'm going to have a bit of a chat, probably after that, about my feelings on the releases that have happened already this sort of year. The ones that are coming, and sort of a little bit of my disappointments and stuff. I'm getting a little bit aggravated. It's not like me, people, about the games and such like that are coming out. But we'll have a bit of a chat about that toward the end, I think. We'll do the news stories first. Cheers. I'll have a little sip of this before we get going. Once again, we're going to have a little chinwag about the channel before we get going on any news stories and stuff. So for anyone that wants to get straight to the interesting stories that I've picked out, then I will try and put the time codes below so you can just skip to the bit that you want to have a look at. There's sometimes a little bit of a delay to that but rendering it all on my phone and everything, and then waiting for it to go live. I generally only do the time codes after it's sort of premiered at some point afterwards. So it's sort of the easiest way to do it. So there is a little bit of a delay getting the time codes in, but I will get them in eventually, and you can just skip to the bit you want, or you can just blind do it, people, and it's not like there's a spoiler or anything there. You know, you can just skip forward and see how far you get. But I will try and put the time codes in for you, as always, people, as always. So channel wise, people, I have been going on and on and on about. I mean, I haven't played any games whatsoever in about 3 weeks now. I think it is exactly 3 weeks or thereabouts. In fact, is it not more than that? It might be in our 4th week. And there's there's not really any major gaming reasons for it, other than I know that over the last few vlogs I've been saying that Diablo 4 didn't quite hook me in the way I wanted, but I was still 20 episodes in and I was still getting joy out of it and fun out of it, but I was finding it a little bit sort of a bit of a job in places where it shouldn't have felt, and it wasn't feeling as interesting as I'd hoped it would, in like the 3 did and Wilson and other such things. But that all said, the main reason that I've not been doing any gaming is because, for anyone that's been watching the channel, you'll know that I had a bit of an operation. We're going back a couple of months now, I think. I had to have a bit of an emergency operation and stuff, and it made sitting for long periods of time really uncomfortable before and after it. So I've had it's got to be sort of good 8 weeks worth of recovery. I can't even remember the time frame now. I can't remember when it happened. So I feel like it's been a couple of months, and everything's going swimmingly, and I feel like I'm 99% healed and everything's fine. However, because I sit down all day doing coding and stuff, it does still get uncomfortable. So when I get into the evening, I don't feel like sitting in another chair to then do gaming, because I'm not feeling comfortable enough to do it, and I'm uncomfortable and it hurts a bit. So what I end up doing is lying on my side on the couch and just watching stuff rather than actually doing recordings and stuff like that. And that is the main reason that I haven't done any videos for you guys. So there you are, that's the reason. I'm not going to go into too much detail other than that, but I have to sit for 8-9 hours of a day doing my day job, depending on how many hours I work that day. And then that in and itself is a bit of a chore still. And it's only, and it is only sort of 99% of whatever. And that's why I feel 99% right. I didn't expect it still to be niggling at me this long after the op, but I've never had an operation before, so it's all new to me, and it is the way that it is. So I'm just hoping that it will ease off and what have you as we go forward. And it does feel like it's healing, but I felt like it was going to heal quicker once we're into this part of things. But we'll see how we go. But anyway, the reason that I was going on about the fact that I was going to get some recording done last week was because obviously if I'm on holiday, then I'm not being sat down doing my day job all day. I'll record during the day, or at a point where I've not been sat down all day, I'll be able to sit down and do some recording. And that's why I was kind of holding off a little bit. So this week, I will find some time to do a big lump of recording for you guys and get some, most likely it's going to be Diablo. Although I have got a bit of an urge to go back and continue my Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning playthrough, which I was really enjoying, and I've not played it for months and months and months. So I will get to it, people. I will make an absolute effort to sit down and record some Let's Play stuff. And Diablo 4 was really popular for my little channel anyway. The last episode's got about 200 and odd views on it, which is high for my little channel. Well, high for something that's 20 episodes in. I've got videos that are like thousands of views, but they're usually the early ones, and then the later ones are usually, if I can keep an episode at 100 views or more, then I tend to keep doing it. If it gets less than that, then there's a high likelihood, if it's a really long game and I feel like there's not much interest, and there's a high likelihood it will tail off, unless I'm really enjoying it, in which case I'll keep going. So there you are. So that's what the plan is for the channel. Obviously we've got a little Flagons Up Thursday at the moment, and I'm hoping that through next week, we'll see how next weekend goes, but I feel like we'll have a Flagons Up Friday next Friday as well, at least. So I might even fit in a Flagons Up midweek next week, people. You never know what the holiday will bring, you know what I mean? But we'll see what news comes out as well. Anywho, is that enough for a bit of an intro and channel news, people? So there you are. That's the reasons of why not much has been going on anyway. Oh, this is half empty now because I was ready to record this about half an hour ago. And normally what I do is I have the little notes app on my phone, and I put all of my notes in there and with links to the articles that I've picked out. And all I normally do is I just go into it, I hit the little up arrow thing on it to share it, whatever the name of it is, and then I send it to email, or send to email. And then I email it to myself through Gmail, and it comes through as text with the links and everything's fine. But I did exactly the same as I normally do, and it just would not work. Eventually I had to open the only way I could get it to work was to open the actual Gmail app itself on my phone, copy all of the text from inside the notepad document and paste it into a new composed email and send it to myself. It's the only way I could get it to work. It took me half an hour to figure that out, people. Grief. Anywho, right, shall we crack in, people, to some news stories? Let's do that. I've not seen a huge amount going on in the sort of news worlds other than the FTC stuff that's been going on. And I've picked up a couple of stories from today. If there's anything that I've missed and you want my opinion on, then let me know in the comments below, people, if you want my opinion on anything that I've missed. But I've picked up a few things for today, and I think probably what I'll do is I've got the links. I'm going to put my old man glasses on and I'm going to read the articles out as we talk about them. So first up, we've got Blizzard to address disgruntled Diablo 4 community after patch backlash, people. There's been a backlash. Can you believe it? They've been fucking around, people, and they've caused a backlash. So we have a look at the article and see what it says. So it always fascinates me with games like this. And this is kind of, I guess, the danger of the sort of game that we've created, which is effectively an MMO, even though they've not sold it as that. But anyway. So here we go. Blizzard will address the backlash to Diablo 4's latest patch in a live stream set for this Friday, the 21st of July. That's tomorrow, people. Game director Joe Shelley, associate game director Joseph Piapiora, I think that's how you say it, and associate director of community Adam Fletcher host the Campfire Chat live stream. Diablo 4's long-awaited pre-season 1 patch 1.1.0 sparked. Sorry, I've just clicked something I didn't mean to there, people. A word I can't quite make out. Vociferous. There you are. Sorry. A word I don't see often, people. Sparked vociferous complaints from the games community, who accused Blizzard of turning the action role-playing game into a slog with a slew of heavy-handed nerfs to all classes, experience point gain, end game progression, and more. In a tweet below, Fletcher said the Campfire Chat will address this feedback. We have been hearing the feedback from players regarding some of the changes in 1.1.0 for Diablo 4, Fletcher said. We are going to have a Campfire Chat later this week on Friday to talk more about it. We will have more details, timing in the next day. Thanks for your feedback. Blizzard has already issued a hotfix for Diablo 4 that sorts issues caused by the patch. This addresses the reduced drop rate of aberrant cinders in Hilltide, which was lower than intended, and re-enables the Hatred's Chosen buff. Fletcher also confirmed Blizzard intends to remove the level requirement for World Tier 3, 40 and 460 that were stealth introduced with this week's patch. Diablo 4 players hope Blizzard rolls back a number of controversial changes made by the patch, but in the meantime, Season 1 kicks off tonight on July. So it kicks off tonight, this patch, by the looks of it. Or Season 1, sorry, dubbed the Season of Malignant. The Season of Malignant kicks off tonight, July 20th. Well, there you are, people. I mean, it always fascinates me with stuff like this. I mean, you get it all the time with Destiny. Not that I play it anymore, but back in the day I played Destiny a fair bit. I was never sort of amazing at it or anything, or I did a raid a couple of times with a friend that kind of got me into one, but I never felt welcomed enough in raids to actually do them. But we did try and set up our own raids a couple of nights as an invited sort of people, beginner people, that because it always seems to be loads of raids with people that can't be bothered with people that don't know what they're doing, which is a little bit sad. So we set some up that were for people that didn't know what they were doing, and we tried. And my mate, well, Craigie boy, he actually was the one that had already done some, and he was sort of walking people through it a little bit. But yeah, but they did it with Destiny so far as they constantly nerfed weapons that people got pissed off about them doing and stuff like that. And I don't understand why games do that, really. I mean, if people are enjoying it and they're happy with it, and usually the community will tell you if they feel like something is far too powerful, and then you nerf it. Just a little bit though, and then do it gradually to see how it works out. But for my liking, this should have been sold as an MMO, this game, because from what we're seeing here, what you actually buy out of the box isn't what you're going to be playing a month or 2 months or 3 months down the line, because presumably those nerfs are across the board. It's not if you happen to be playing a season or not. Let me know in the comments below if that's wrong, but I'm assuming anything nerfed is going to be nerfed for everybody, not just people playing the season stuff. So it's a little bit disappointing that I don't know why you need to dick around with your game. Like, you've launched it, you're happy with it, leave it alone. But if you are telling us that it's an MMO, then you should have told us that as we were buying it. Not that it would have stopped me buying it, but at least I'd have more of an understanding of what's coming. So I think we can say safely, even though they're not calling it an MMO, that it is an MMO. And we kind of got that sense when it was online only. So it is what it is, and it will continue to grow. And I think in 2 years' time, that game will be nothing like it is now. It will just be something completely new, almost. And they'll just keep adding content as we go forward. And they did, to be fair, they did say that it was going to be added to a lot. But they didn't say that it was going to be MMO style, as far as I know anyway. Unless someone knows different, let me know. So, yeah, it's fascinating stuff. Let me know in the comments below if you've been pissed off by it, or if you don't give a shit one way or the other. I mean, nerfing basically tends to make the game harder. But I think when they say that it becomes more of a grind, it means that the weapons that you were decimating things with to get loot and keep enjoying it to the extent you need to at that point, because then loot becomes the big thing, and then it becomes harder work and you've got to grind for much longer, and it's just like for that sort of game it is really painful when all you want to see is loads of drops happening. You don't want to be nerfed. The only reason to nerf stuff really is if you feel like it's ruining the enjoyment of the game. Right, and that doesn't seem to be the case here. People seem to be quite happy with how it was, so why have you nerfed them? Like, just leave it. Anyway, we'll see what comes of the campfire chat, people, shall we? What was up next? Actually, let me know in the comments below if you are still on with Diablo. I know on the Discord chat, and there is a Discord chat, people, if you want to come and join in. There is plenty of links to it sort of splattered around the channel. I think it's in somewhere in my profile, I think, if you look hard enough. I'll maybe try and remember and put the link in to this video as well, or in the description below, people. I'll maybe try and put it there. But there's a Discord chat, and we often have a good little chinwag about all sorts of things, just on and off. It's not a continuous chat. It's just open all the time, and sometimes someone will ping something up about gaming, or sometimes we'll just ping stuff up in general. And it's really good. We've got a group of about 10 or so folk in there from people that watch the vids and follow the channel. Good group of people. So if you want to come and join in with that, do so, people, and you can let me know your comments in there. But also just use the comments below, people, as always, if you want to just let me know how you're getting on with Diablo 4, if you are loving it, if it's as good as you thought it would be, if it doesn't quite hit home as much as you thought it would. I mean, I have had a bit of a mixed... I've seen very mixed comments on it without any shadow of a doubt, even though it got 9 out of 10s and stuff. I'm not saying it's a bad game, but for me, I just found like it was lacking in interest. Like, it's just not hooking me in like I expected it to, like all of these games normally do. Like Diablo 3 did, Wolfenstein did, Grim Dawn did. It's just something about that game is not hooking me and keeping me interested the way those other games did. So it's been a bit of an interesting one. Anywho, up next was a deal has been struck, people. Yes, it has, between Xbox and PlayStation to agree that Call of Duty will be on the PlayStation for the next 10 years. I don't know what that deal entails so far as it's going to include all of the mainstream Call of Duties without any shadow of a doubt, because I don't think they'd get away without doing that. Doesn't mean there's not going to be Call of Duty stuff that isn't the mainstream ones, and they do so. I mean, they could use those studios to do something that isn't Call of Duty, but is effectively as good a game made by the same people that is just not called Call of Duty. So that could be a way of them just doing stuff that is exclusive, and that would be superb, I think. Because I think you can't buy up studios like that and not have them doing exclusive for you. That's just madness, people. So we'll see what comes of it. But here we go. Let's have a look at the whole story, people. Some of these stories are coming from this one's coming from The Verge. The last story was coming from IGN. So just props to those people. Sony has agreed to a 10-year deal for Call of Duty with Microsoft to keep the franchise on PlayStation after the proposed Activision Blizzard acquisition. Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer says Sony and Microsoft have agreed a binding agreement to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation. This ends a bitter battle between the companies that has been waged both privately and publicly over the past year after Microsoft announced its proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard. Yeah, but only because they've lost the FTC deal. They've got no choice, have they? I mean, what's Jim Ryan going to do? Like, is he just going to walk away? No, he's not. So he has to bow down and just suck it up. While Microsoft's initial announcement doesn't mention 10 years for Call of Duty on PlayStation, Carrie Perez, head of global communications at Xbox, confirmed the 10-year agreement to The Verge. Perez later confirmed to The Verge that the deal is only for Call of Duty, though that makes the deal similar to a 10-year agreement between Microsoft and Nintendo, but not the various deals Microsoft has struck with Nvidia and other cloud gaming platforms to bring Call of Duty and other Xbox Activision games to rival services. Microsoft's original deal offered to Sony in January 2022 included keeping all existing Activision console titles on Sony, including future versions in the Call of Duty franchise or any other current Activision franchise on Sony through December 31st, 2027. The deal terms have clearly changed since that opening offer, with an extension to 10 years that's limited to just Call of Duty. So basically they've gone and fucked up PlayStation because they pissed Xbox off so much that they said, right, fine, you can only have fucking Call of Duty then. And you're not getting any of the new stuff that we might make. Which I think's personally, I think that is absolutely valid. And I've had this chat in the other vlogs previously, but there is no reason for me whatsoever that Xbox should be having to put games on PlayStation for studios that they've bought. But PlayStation, the only company that PlayStation have that I know of that does it is Bungie. And that was the only reason that Bungie will keep making their games cross all platforms is because that was part of the deal to buy them. They said that they made that a stringent thing to say, we'll become part of Sony, but we still want to make games for all platforms, not just Sony. That they didn't have a choice in the matter. So there's no way that Insomniac are going to make games for Xbox, or any of the other studios or Naughty Dog or any of the other studios that Sony have brought up through the years. So I don't understand why it is that Microsoft should feel obliged to do that. It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, there we are. So they've kind of fucked up PlayStation because now they're only going to get Call of Duty and they're not going to get anything else. Sony had resisted signing a Call of Duty deal with Microsoft after the company first offered a 10-year contract in December 2022. Instead, in filings to regulators, Sony has repeatedly maintained that it fears Microsoft would make Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox. I mean, so fucking what? You're doing it all over the place. If it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander, right, people? I don't understand. I don't understand why it's okay for one company and not okay for the other. It's like you do it if you buy one studio at a time, it's fine. If you buy 5 studios at once, oh no, well, you can't have that. Do you know what I mean? And then through the FTC trial, it was all coming out that PlayStation have been purposefully stopping games getting to Xbox, buying deals on. In fact, that we talked about it in the last vlog. There was a big hoo-ha about the fact that Microsoft got wind of the fact that PlayStation were trying to get Starfield to be exclusive on PlayStation for a period of time, if not always. And that was a big part of the reason that they went off and bought Bethesda, ZeniMax. So it's cause and effect. What you're doing is making the other company react, and they're reacting with massive right hooks, people. You know what I mean? And I can't understand why Sony are suddenly pissed off. They caused this effect. It wasn't the other way round. So it's all a bit... And that's basically what the judge from the FTC has said in effect. She said it's fine, you can have it. I think that's part of the list anyway. We're going to have a brief talk about that. The fact that the deal was approved by the FTC or by the judge in the end, overruling the FTC. But anyway, let's move on to that as it's a fairly smooth transition. A FTC ruling. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll read the article first and then we'll chat about it. Sony agrees to... Oh, no, that's the wrong article, that is. Just hit the same thing twice. I think I've got the same link twice rather than the FTC deal link, which is a bit annoying. Okay, we've got it's a technical issue, people, and the producer's not here at the moment. So that's why I've opened up the same link twice. All right, okay, well, I'll just try and talk about it without looking at the article, which is fine. I'll just sort of... I mean, in the end, for those people that don't know, and you must have been living in a hut underground, a bomb shelter or something, if you didn't know this was going on. But effectively, Microsoft wanted to buy Activision Blizzard, and everything was fine for about 5 minutes, and then a number of countries, well, 2 countries kicked off. One was the UK, one was the United States of America, and the FTC is their sort of governing body that says, is it okay for that big company to buy that big company? Is it going to have an effect on fair trade or fair buying, fair customer buying and all that sort of stuff? So they basically said, no, we're not happy. Microsoft, then they ended up in court with a judge. They wanted to delay everything. The judge basically, at the whole end of it, the judge just said, no, they are allowed to go ahead. We're not going to do anything. I mean, basically the judge just said that, why is it okay for, I mean, not in these words, you know, I'm reading into some of this, but she did say in the thing, in some of the articles I read, it's like, so basically what they're doing then, which was pointing at Sony, say, or PlayStation, saying, but you're doing the same thing. So how is it okay for you and not for them? So by the end of this whole weeks and weeks trial with the FTC and Xbox and all of this dirty laundry coming out, well, we say dirty laundry, it was more a case of we got to hear text from official emails from like Phil Spencer to Matt Booty and other such emails, Jim Ryan and all sorts of people, emails and comments they've made that we normally wouldn't hear, but we did in this particular case, because if the court asks to hear it, see it, you've got to show it. And it all kind of it didn't shine anybody in a particularly great light, but it did kind of show us just how much of a behind the scenes kind of, oh, well, you know, if they're going to do that, then we'll do this kind of attitude, which is, that's business though. If you're going to have a jab at a business business opposition, if you like, then they're going to jab back, and they're going to jab back harder if they can manage it. And that's what Microsoft have been doing. So for me, I think it's the right ruling. I'm not saying that I wanted Xbox to be able to buy them. I'm not saying that Activision Blizzard are going to be better off for being part of Microsoft. But what I am saying is I think in the grand scheme of things, it's the fair and right decision, because that's exactly what PlayStation have been up to. They've just not been buying them 5 at a time. You know what I mean? It's like, it's okay to buy a studio every 4 months until you've got the same amount of studios as this person over here, but it's not all right for them to buy 5 studios at once in order to catch up. And that to me makes no sense. So I think it's the right decision. I think that there is now, the British now are the only authority that are still sort of poo-pooing the idea, and that was nothing to do with Call of Duty. That was to do with cloud gaming. They had an issue with cloud gaming and how it's sort of it's cornering that sort of market from what they're trying to do. Sony, they've agreed to sit down with Xbox. That governing body from the UK has agreed to sit down with Xbox and talk through proposed changes to the deal so that it would let it pass through. So I think in the end, and I said this all along, I thought always that this deal would go through. And I think that is now starting to come to fruition. And I think it's right and fair and proper that it is allowed to go through. Not because it is... If I say right, fair and proper, because of the current circumstance. If it was out of the ordinary and something that other companies weren't doing, then I would think that it has to be looked at. But I think as things go, I think it's right, fair and proper, the decision that's happened. So it is what it is, and there we are, people. So I think if you look at it though, I mean, Microsoft are still way behind Sony when it comes to sales of consoles, sales of games, and they've got a lot of catching up to do. They're trying to build a very different animal in what they're doing with Game Pass and everything else. But I think cloud gaming, the fact that all of their games are hitting PC day one pretty much, I think, they've got that entry-level market system with the X. There's the S console. They've then got the Uber console, which is the X, which is still the more powerful one, the most powerful console out there. So I think they're still doing a lot right, Xbox, but they've got a huge amount of ground to cover, and they've got to get their first-party games are going to start coming. With Starfield just around the corner, September launch, isn't it? So Starfield is nearly upon us, and they've got another big game out this year. Is it for... I forget now. But anyway, all of their big studios are going to start dropping games this year, next year, year after. And they will start to gather a bit of momentum. But it takes 5 to 7 years to make a AAA title, people. But it is still concerning that they still seem to be incapable of managing studios to the effective ability of what PlayStation do. And I that's the only concern for me. Like, they set up a AAA studio to do Perfect Dark, and it's been nothing but problems. And they've invested loads of money in it. And so bad, in fact, that they've replaced the entire development with Crystal Dynamics. I think Crystal Dynamics have come in to make that game, or something of the ilk, alongside that studio. So something was really not right. So it feels to me like they don't quite know what they're doing with home studios. Like none of the, like, you can look at look at Halo, or look at, I've talked about this in a previous blog, but look at Halo, look at Gears of War. I'm not saying they're bad games, but they are nowhere near the caliber of the companies that made them before. Like Epic's Gears of War games were way better, even though they were on consoles from way back. They're still way better games than the Gears games that have been made on last gen and this gen. And Halo was the same. Halo's never been the same since Bungie stopped doing it. It's never been anywhere near as good. And 343 Industries has got like, what, 350, 400 people or something working there. And they've had that franchise longer than Bungie had it now. And they've still not made a game that matched Bungie. So there is a concern for me that however they run those studios isn't right. Like, there is something fundamentally wrong, and I think they need to fix that in order to get chasing Sony properly. Like, there's no way you're going to catch them if you can't nail your first party titles to be an uber experience that people can't wait to get the next one for. You are never going to catch a competitor that is doing it way better than you. So they've got to fix it, and they've got to fix it fast. Not going to count Redfall in there because that was already in production before Microsoft bought them over. It is what it is. It was what they were making, and there wasn't much they could do about it. But if you look at the franchise, their big number one franchises that should have been hitting home with 10 out of 10s every time, you've got Halo and Gears, and I don't think any of their games have hit anyway. I don't think they've hit a 9, never mind a 10. I think maybe 8s from official reviewers. And even, I think now, but I think the Halos have had a bit of a harder time than the Gears. I think the Gears were, I mean, I've enjoyed the Gears games that came out, but they're still not anywhere near as good as the originals. So if they're going to carry on, and in fact, the last one, although there was a lot of fun in there, they put this stupid thing in the last one where you had to make a choice about who died. And it's like, well, how the fuck do you take that into the next game? And the guy that did that and directed that and decided to put that change in, he left. In fact, he's the guy that's just made Diablo 4. Not that I'm saying, I mean, he's a great guy and a great game maker, but it was just a crazy thing to do. Like, it's not that kind of game. You know, I don't know anyone that wanted that. There's nobody. Everyone I've heard say something about that Gears game have always said, what the fuck was that choice all about? Like, just stick to your story. How on earth are you going to carry that forward to see that through into the next game? For that type of game, I understand it for a game like Mass Effect or something where there's a whole purpose to all these choices. But why would you bother making... I don't understand it. It's just utterly bizarre to me. But yeah, anyway, the point being, I'm a little bit concerned about what happens to Activision Blizzard now. If they leave them alone to do what they were doing, then I'm sure they'll be fine. But I don't know. I think they need someone like... Because it was... Yoshi, wasn't it, as he's nicknamed for PlayStation. He doesn't do it now because I think he's head of sort of indie stuff at PlayStation now. But he used to tour around. Someone else would be doing it. They used to tour around the studios regularly, getting updates about how the games are going, what they're looking like. Are we on plan? Is it everything we wanted it to be? And there was this constant thing of making sure these big titles were going to hit home. I mean, if that is happening with Xbox, it doesn't seem to be paying off by any means. So, for me anyway, and I don't know if it's a case of just bringing in more people that have seen massive big hitters through, like to the point where they know exactly what makes a fundamentally successful game. Or not. I don't know what the answer is, but it's got to be experience. It's got to be having people in that environment that are experienced enough to know that is going to work or it's not going to work at a point where the game can be helped and changed and put in the right direction. Not wait until it's nearly launch day and go, fucking hell, it's not looking good at all. I mean, that happened with not a first party studio, but it happened with Rocksteady, didn't it, recently? With the Justice League. everybody saw the trailer for it and they were like, what the fuck is this, shooting big purple thing for 3 hours until your enemy dies and there's no, the character, like what's Harley Quinn doing flying around, and like everyone was just like, that's not what we wanted from that studio, and then suddenly it's delayed for a year or whatever it is. So it's going to be interesting to see if Microsoft can sort that out. And I know there's been all sorts of rumours that Fable's been dogged by dev issues as well, even though that is actually with a really good studio. It seems to have been dogged a bit, and it's sort of been delayed as to, because that's been a long time since that was first announced, and we got a good trailer for it recently. I'm really hoping that game, I'm glad they're giving it a lot of time, but we have heard rumours of that being dogged a bit in the development. The Perfect Dark was the worst one. That's just almost started from scratch after years of it being in development. So we'll see what happens. I feel like I'm rambling on a bit about it too much, but let me know in the comments below about what you think. But I genuinely feel like there is an issue there with Xbox, and I'm hoping that they're gonna sort it out one way or the other. I feel like there's been certain people left big positions in Microsoft saying it was for moving on to something better or wanted to take a break or whatever. And I think that there's probably more of a sense of that's just a nice way of saying we need to change things because it just isn't working. So I'm not going to name names, people. I'm in a good mood, you know what I mean? But there you are. Yeah, I think it's the right, proper decision that they are going to be allowed to buy it. Let me know in the comments below if you agree or if you disagree, people. Finally, Xbox Game Pass Core, people, is replacing the Xbox Gold Live. And for anyone that's been on Xbox for a long, long time, Xbox Live is basically the ability to go on and chat and play games with people on other consoles across the cloud. And it's been there since the dawn of it's been there since 360. I've got a feeling that there were some games on the Xbox original. There were definitely online games on the Xbox original and the PS2. I think they were certainly linked online. The later versions had network connections on them or something. I'm pretty sure there was. I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but Xbox Live's been around for the longest time, and it was like $5.99 a month to be able to play games with other people for certain games and chat in big party chats and stuff. And I think they've been trying to find a way of getting rid of it because they've introduced Game Pass. They've had the sort of Game Pass Ultimate and the Game Pass Standard and the whatever. So they've now introduced this Game Pass Core, which isn't an exact replacement, but it's what is effectively replacing it. So let's have a look at the story. I've not actually read this story yet. I saw the headline for it. And Xbox Live is dead. Long live Xbox Game Pass Core. 20 years after the launch of Microsoft's gaming flagship online service, the platform holder is making some sweeping changes to the branding of the Xbox ecosystem. Game Pass Core is being referred to as the evolution of Xbox Live Gold rather than an outright replacement. With this new service offering access to the multiplayer network and a curated collection of some of the best Xbox Series X games. As part of the change, Microsoft is retiring the Games with Gold service, which was your sort of monthly free games that you got. Although the introduction of a more curated collection of titles should be a positive one in the long run. Given how established Xbox Live Gold is, there's quite a bit to wrap your head around. So below we're going to run through everything you need to know about Xbox Game Pass Core, including price, benefits, release date, and the list of confirmed games you'll be able to access. This is coming from Games Radar, people. Props to them. The Xbox Game Pass Core release date has been set for September 14th, 2023. If you're an existing Xbox Live Gold member, your subscription will automatically transition to the new service, which is quite cool. That means that from September 14th, you'll still be able to access the online multiplayer network to play and chat with your friends, and you'll gain access to a library of 25 of some of the best Xbox One games and Xbox Series X titles, which is very good actually, but it depends on the price really, doesn't it? So, choose the plan that's right for you. So here we go, let's have a look at the different ones. So we've got Yeah, so we've got Game Pass Core, Game Pass Console, and Game Pass Ultimate. There's also a Game Pass PC. Game Pass Core is $9.99 a month. I think Gold was like, it was $6.99. I think it might have gone up to $7.99 in recent years. So it's not that much of a hike, but it is still £10 a month or $10 a month if you want the ability to play with other people. Online, for that you get online console multiplayer, catalogue of over 25 high quality games on console, and member deals and discounts. Seems to be... Oh, right. So the only difference between core and console, which is only $1 more, is that you can get hundreds of high quality games and consoles. So, I mean, from looking at what they've done here, they're basically trying to say, what's the point of getting core? You might as well get console and get the extra dollar off people, because it's sort of 25 high quality games or hundreds of high quality games in the console version for an extra dollar. So there you are. The PC one is the same price, and you get hundreds. Well, for the PC one, you actually get hundreds of high quality things, and it's only $9.99. New games on day one, member deals and discounts, EA Play membership. I mean, PC gamers are getting more than the console gamers, which is meant to be their core market. What's that about? Why are PC ones getting... I'm just trying to see if there is any difference. Interestingly, core and console, the console one doesn't say online console multiplayer. So that's a bit weird. So for the $10.99, it doesn't seem to suggest that you're getting the multiplayer, but you must do, surely to Christ. It doesn't say multiplayer on the PC one either. So, but it must do. It must be included, surely. And the Ultimate, obviously, you get everything, cloud gaming, hundreds of high quality games. New games day one is the big thing for the Ultimate, because Starfield, you just get to play it for now. So you're looking at $16.99 for Ultimate though. So that's something that I'll just tend to... I mean, I'll just do it when Starfield comes out, for example. I'll just go, oh well, I'll pay for it for a month. I better go, and if I'm enjoying it, I might just buy Starfield. The Xbox Game Pass core price remains in lockstep with the current Xbox Live Gold price. All right. So it must be $9.99 for Xbox Live Gold then. I've not bought it for a while. That means the Xbox Game Pass core will cost $9.99. Oh, it is $6. Oh, sorry, okay. It's £6.99 in UK. So it is. So it's the same price. It's the same price as the gold is now, which is pretty decent, I think. So £6.99 a month, $9.99 in the US, or $59.99 per year, or £49.99 a year in the UK, which I think is a pretty decent deal, to be fair. You'll also still get access to exclusive member deals and discounts on selected games, and be able to access free play days. Games with gold is no longer included in the price of the subscription, as the service is being retired in favour of the catalogue of 25 games, which is way better, isn't it? The Xbox Game Pass core games will be available to all subscribers. A package of more than 25 titles from Xbox Game Studios, Bethesda, and some of the favourite third-party publishers. An initiative which is replacing games with gold. This collection of titles is expected to be updated up to 3 times a year, although it's unlikely to include upcoming Xbox Series X games on day one, like the Ultimate and so on. Yeah, so like Ultimate, Game Pass PC, and Pass... Yeah, I mean, Game Pass PC is getting fucking day one titles, and they're getting it for $9.99. Jesus Christ. We don't know the full day one lineup yet, only these 19 Game Pass core games. Among Us, Descenders, Dishonored 2, Doom Eternal, Fable Anniversary, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5, Grounded, Halo 5 Guardians, Halo Wars 2, Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice, Human Fall Flat, Inside, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Psychonauts 2, State of Decay 2, The Elder Scrolls Online, Tamriel Unlimited. But I tell you, that Elder Scrolls Online won't include all of the DLCs. It'll just be the basic game. But that's fair enough. But it's still, for your money, it's not a bad list of games. And it'll be forever changing, that list. Xbox Live was introduced 20 years ago, having launched in November 2002, and enabling online connectivity for some of the best original Xbox games. Yeah, so 2002 was original Xbox, isn't it? Like Mech Assault and Unreal Championship. The service was ultimately popularised by Halo 2, and has got, yeah, of course, Halo 2 was on original Xbox, wasn't it? And has gone on to be an integral component to the Xbox ecosystem. Iterations of Xbox Live subsequently appeared on the Xbox 360, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. What's key to understand is that while the Xbox Live branding is going away, the service itself remains unchanged. Your gamer tag will remain, so too will your ability to play online, access your friends list, and your library of games. All that's changing is the name. One element of Xbox Live is shutting down, however, which is the Games with Gold initiative. Yeah, and there you go. So the rest of it's just a bit of fluff, really. So there you go. I think it's probably a fair enough thing to do. I think they've been looking for a sensible way to do this for a while, and their answer to the conundrum has been, well, we'll give them a version of Game Pass that only has 25 games on it rather than the unlimited amount of games. So it's pretty much the same thing. Because that list of games, as I say, will keep changing. So it is what it is. Things have to evolve. It's fine. It's a kind of confusing branding when you've got Live Gold over here and Game Pass over there. And it's like, what's the difference between all these things? If you've just got Game Pass 1, Game Pass 2, Game Pass 3, these are the differences. It's easy for people to think about, isn't it? What else do we have? And that's it, people, for the news stories. So the only other thing I wanted to talk about, really, was the fact that, well, my feelings on the year, really, because I was super stoked at the beginning of this year about games that were coming out, and they've never quite hit home for me. And I mean, I've got a few jotted down that. Well, there's three basically four that I can talk about, although I haven't played one of them, or two of them. Sorry. I haven't played two of them, but I'll mention two that I was really stoked for. And one was Diablo 4, which we've talked about, and I'm not saying it's a bad game, and I'm not saying I'm not getting any joy out of it. But it's just not hit home the way that I wanted it to, the way that Wolcen did just before I played Diablo 4. I'd played Wolcen. Before Wolcen, I'd played Diablo 3, well, other games. I can Torchlight 2, Grim Dawn. I mean, there's so many games like that I've played, and I've always been hooked into them. But with Diablo 4, I'm finding it really hard to be hooked. And I feel like the reason it's happening is because it has become an MMO, and it has become a massive run around this giant map that I don't want to. That's forever reviving fights and what have you, because it's an MMO style area. So yeah, it doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel like a Diablo game so much as it feels like another MMO online. And I feel like other games do it better. Like, I feel like Path of Exile does it better than Diablo 4 for me. Certainly they do it in the way that I like to play these games. So that was a bit of a disappointment. I've not been hooked into it as much as I wanted it to be. Jedi Survivor feels like a game I can't wait to play still. Like, I've played it for about 4 hours, I think. And I got to a point where it was so technically messy that I just had to put it down. I thought, the game's ruined because it's just a mess. Like, I either play it at 60 FPS with screen tearing all over the place, or I play it at 30 FPS, which is really juddery, and then in itself started screen tearing in the bigger areas. And I was like, why? Why have you made a game like this? And I feel like when a game launches, they're pushing the console so hard that it's never going to look good in the current gen that you're in. So the only time I'm ever going to love a game is when the next generation of console comes out, and that can play the game because it's got more power. It can play it at the 60 FPS I wanted to play it at in the first place. And I don't understand why devs are doing it. Like, why are you making games that the consoles that are pretty powerful? These consoles are not easygoing machines. They're powerful. But they seem to just be focused on making a superb... Well, in fact, Jedi Survivor's not even good on PC, so I think it's even worse on PC, and they've got the ability to tweak things around in the settings. So I don't understand why you've made a game that is a technical mess, but a really good game, and launched it. Like, I don't get it. I don't understand. What was your mindset? Like, it's almost like your mindset is, it's okay because it's going to look incredible. Like, next generation of console from now, when we've got a PS6 and stuff, and an Xbox Series Gazillion Z, or whatever it's going to be called, that it's going to play like a dream, and you'll understand why we made it that way. But that's not the point. I want to play it like a dream now. So don't put assets in there it can't cope with. Don't try and do things that these systems can't cope with. It's just, I've not played the game, and that was the game I was most excited about out of all of them, I think. I know what the answer. I mean, I would rather have the graphics of Jedi Fallen Order on Jedi Survivor and be playing it at 60 FPS. If I play Jedi Fallen Order now, which I have done, it's beautifully smooth at 60 FPS because it was patched when the new consoles came out, and it's the most beautiful thing to play. It's superb. But that game was a technical mess when it came out, if you remember. Certainly on the base units it was. I played it on One X, and I didn't have any major issues with it. It played pretty smooth. It was still 30 FPS though. But the 60 FPS patch came out. It was absolutely glorious playing it. I'd rather have cut down graphics with 60 FPS. Like, it looks way better. Like, as I've said it a million times, 30 FPS with 4K only looks amazing when you're standing still. And who stands still in a game? Nobody. So I don't know. I don't know I don't know how we get developers to listen to us when we say that we don't want that. I don't understand why this game. I know that it was said that they'd inherently inserted ray tracing into this game, which sounds like they've done it to a point where it can't be turned off. Although I think someone said you can turn it off on the PC though. But for some reason, it doesn't matter which version you play on console, it's got ray tracing turned on, and we don't have the ability to turn it off. And if we could turn ray tracing off, it would probably play way smoother. So I don't know why we're being forced to put that on. But so that was my biggest disappointment. Like, that's two of the major titles for this year that just haven't lived up to expectation for me. And then you've got Starfield, which we already know is coming in September, and they've already told us you're not getting 60 FPS. So that's me put off that straight away. I don't want to play that game at 30 FPS. I don't want to play any game at 30 FPS. And the Final Fantasy 16, which I've not bought yet, has kind of turned into... I mean, Aaron, my son Aaron Brew, he played it, absolutely loved it. He thought it was a fantastic game. But it is not a Final Fantasy game of the ilk that I like. I don't know. I think someday I'm going to play that game. If that game had been turn-based, I would have bought it day one, without any shadow of a doubt. If it had the battle system of Final Fantasy 13, for example, I would have bought that game hands down day one. But it is basically a button mash, that game. Because it's the guy that did was it Devil May Cry or something similar that's developed that game. So basically just button mashing. I mean, admittedly, skillfully button mashing, but it is basically a fighting game now. It's not a Final Fantasy turn-based RPG anymore. In fact, but there's people saying that it's not even an RPG, never mind anything else. And much as though everyone's raving about how good the game is, and it's sitting at 9 out of 10 or whatever it is on Metacritic or what have you, it's still not a Final Fantasy game for me. The last one that I played that was probably felt like a Final Fantasy game, I mean, Final Fantasy VII Remake, it kind of did and it didn't. Like, it still wasn't the thing with Final Fantasy VII was you could still mess around with the other characters in battles and stuff, doing them things to do and stuff like that, and you still had a party of people with you, and it still felt like a group of people, and you still felt that nostalgia from the original, and still felt like a Final Fantasy game to me. But the days of Final Fantasy 13, Final Fantasy 10 battle systems have just gone, haven't they? I mean, I don't know if we'll ever see a turn-based Final Fantasy game again. I don't want to go back to the turn-based ones like 10. 13 for me they really hit a sweet spot with 13 because they made the turn-based not laborious and not a chore. They had the whole paradigm shift thing. You were constantly moving. You weren't having to, like Final Fantasy X, I had this thing where I had to you had to swap party members in every fight so that they would get level up points. Otherwise you'd have 3 people in your fight fighting all the time, and 3 wouldn't have any points to spend in the sphere grid. So you're constantly swapping people in and out of fights just to get them points. And you didn't have to do that with 13. It just naturally gave them the points like everybody else and stuff if you hadn't put them in the fight. And so they did all sorts of really cool stuff in 13. I mean, 10 is kind of I love 10 as a game and a story and characters and stuff like that. A huge amount of love for that game over 13. But 13 really nailed that battle mechanic and battle system. And pretty much from that point on, I think you got Final Fantasy 13-2, which changed it up a bit. I think it was a bit weird, that one. You didn't have quite the party you had. I think it was using animals in place of other people and stuff like that. And then you had Final Fantasy 13 Lightning, and that was a bit of a fighter more than a turn-based, I think. So it all kind of started changing after that Lightning element, I think. And I don't know that we're going to get another turn-based RPG style Final Fantasy. I really hope that we do, because I really think that the fans would love it if we got a really good one. And Final Fantasy 14 just didn't hit anywhere for me. I just did not like that game at all. Just didn't hit home at all on any front. But there you are. So I mean, I feel a bit disappointed in the whole year, really. I mean, the out of the blue, the fun that I've had was like Wolcen, which just flew out of nowhere because it had come from PC on a console out of the blue. Played it, was popular on the channel. I really enjoyed playing through the campaign. So it's little things like that tend to bring me a bit of joy in this year, rather than the stuff that I've been really stoked for and then been really disappointed. Well, disappointed. I wouldn't say really disappointed. I was really disappointed with Jedi Survivor, but I've not been really disappointed with Diablo 4. I've just been slightly disappointed. But there you are. I mean, let me know in the comments below if you think this has been a great year of gaming and you've loved those games. Then tell me as such. I'm going to take these off, people, for the last part, because I mean, if you disagree with me, that's absolutely fine. And I understand that other people have thought that Diablo's absolutely everything they wanted it to be, and that's great. And if that's the way you found it, then I'm really happy for you. But I just find that it's not settled into that same core love that I have for that type of game, the action RPG type top-down style of game. It's just not hit home for me the way that other titles have, and from smaller studios that just seem to get what those games should be about. But the same token, you can kind of respect that they've tried to do something a bit different with Diablo 4, and I think it will grow and it will get better because they've also already said they're going to keep investing in it, and why not? It's going to be a cash cow for them anyway. They'll probably release expansions that you're going to want to buy and stuff. In fact, there was a season pass version, I think. So it'll keep growing, and I'm sure I'll keep tapping into it to see what's been changed and stuff. And as I say, I'm going to try and hammer into the campaign this week and try and do some more episodes on the Let's Play for you guys. So I'll get a bit more of it done at that part. I hope I can remember the bloody buttons, people. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? So yeah, that's my plan anyway for this week. I'll try and get some of that done for you. But let me know in the comments below about any of this stuff, people. There you are. Well, there you are. That's all I've got for you. Well, I say one more flagons up to you all. Woo! I'm going to go away and I'm going to smelt all this good stuff together for you. We are on the iPhone, so there's probably not going to have been any cool footage or anything behind me because I just edit it all on the phone, and I can't download the movie. Well, I can't download the YouTube videos to my phone to then smelt them in. So I have to do that on the PC, and that's a thing that YouTube have done with apps effectively, because I think by default, I think you have to buy a version or a subscription to YouTube that lets you download videos. But on PC, they can't restrict it like that because they don't need app approval. So there's just programs out there where it'll download a video from whatever site you're on. It doesn't need to be YouTube or anywhere. Just download a video from anywhere, I think. But there you are. So yeah, so that's how I manage to smelt things together most of the time. But on the phone, I can't do it. I think, do you know, the weird thing is, I think you can actually do it on Android. If I had an Android phone, I'd be able to download the videos. I think the app I'm talking about, there's a I can't remember what it's called. I've still got it on the phone, but it's got a similar symbol to YouTube, but you can watch YouTube videos on it, and you can also, like on YouTube, you can't watch a YouTube video on your phone and then put it on dark or silent, or start a YouTube video and then go looking at something else, and it puts a little window in window for you at the top. That doesn't work. It just stops, doesn't it, the video? But in this app, it lets you play the video while you're doing other things, and it keeps playing it, or if you go into dark mode, it'll keep playing it. And it also, pretty sure it was the same app that let you download the video, but it will only let you download it in the Android phones. It won't let you do it in Apple. So I don't know why Apple have it restricted and Android don't, which is a bit weird. I think the one time I did smelt videos together when I did one of these, and it worked really well. It was great. But I think what I did was I downloaded the videos on the laptop, and then I dropped those videos into Dropbox, and then I picked them up from Dropbox on the iPhone. It just took ages. So anyway, you know, you guys love looking at me anyway. You know what I mean? What are we worrying about? My beautiful frame that I've got around me with my little icons and everything. Well, there you are, folks. If I keep talking, I'm just going to be blabbing on about nothing at all. And we've talked for an hour, people. Well, there you are. Let me know in the comments below any of the things I've been talking about, people. Let me know how you are. Let me know how your gaming world is going. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you once again in this little vlog of mine. And I shall catch you all in the next one. Take it easy, folks. Bye.